But let's return to National Adoption Week, and the focus this year is on about siblings. The idea that really they shouldn't be separated during the adoption process, but it is difficult. It's a lot for people to take on, more than one child, a very big decision. So let's talk to Gemma Gordon-Johnson, the Head of Service for First4Adoption, which provides information to anyone interested in adopting. First port of call, aren't you, Gemma, when people are looking into this? How important is it, first and foremost, for, where possible, siblings to stay together? Because it clearly is a very difficult time for these kids.
Absolutely, it's really difficult. Social workers obviously want siblings to stay together. It helps them grow together. And as we know with our brothers and sisters, it's probably one of the best relationships we have growing up. And it can be quite difficult when that relationship is broken up at the beginning. And
I guess for children who are being adopted, actually, those sibling relationships are even more important than they are for the rest of us.
Absolutely, yeah. Particularly as obviously they've already been broken away from their birth parents, to have another relationship that's broken down can be really quite difficult as well.
But it must be heartbreaking from your point of view. I mean, what do you say to siblings when they're facing that prospect of being separated? How do you explain it to them?
Social workers are trained, this is what they do, and they take it very sensitively with children and prepare them for what may or may not happen. They will always try and keep them together, but as we've seen that nearly 50% of the children waiting for adoption are actually in sibling groups. So unfortunately there are cases where children are split from their brothers and sisters.
And yet, obviously, for adoptive or potential adoptive parents, taking on a child is an enormous step. It's going to take a lot of thought, a lot of thinking over a long time, isn't it? So how do you then say to people, actually, take two or maybe more?
Absolutely.
Because it's a huge step.
It's a huge step and it's a personal decision. No one's forced into making that decision. And it's also a question for the prospective adopter whether or not they want to go through the process once or they want to go through it twice. So if they are thinking about having more than one child, it may be right for them to take on a sibling group rather than going through the process a second time later on.
Some people, they might feel pressured. I know I certainly would feel guilty if I wanted to adopt one child and then I saw, you know, a sweet little sibling there. You'd almost be guilted into accepting that second child, which can't be the best way of being enticed into having more than one child.
Yeah, no, social workers will definitely go through that process with you, and it's quite harrowing to look at pictures of children that are waiting for adoption, and you can see lots of profiles, and yes, there'll be siblings together. So it's something that you're taken through and sort of not coached through, but you know, there's training around sort of helping you with the sensitive side of that.
But you are
the
trying to encourage people to take more than one child, that's the
only
line,
what's right for the person. So if a social worker feels that actually they don't think they've got potentially the support around them, or that they couldn't take two children at a time, they wouldn't recommend that.
Because with all of this, it must be a very difficult process matching children with the right parents, because it's got to be, obviously it's a two-way relationship.
Absolutely.
How do you even begin that? I mean, and when you're dealing with people at the first port of call, are people aware of that? Are they aware that this has to be a long process, if only because of that, sort of trying to develop a relationship?
Yeah, I mean, the process has recently changed, so it now takes 6 months to just become an approved adopter. So that's shortened a lot. The government's done quite a lot last year to change things so that it's actually more accessible to people, and also so that children don't wait as long as they have been. But the matching process, there's no timescale on it because it needs to be made sure that it's actually right for both the child and the prospective adopters. And a lot of care is taken with that. So when you go into adoption, you're given sort of profiles of children so that you see them, and the social worker will work with you as to what they think the match would work. Many social workers have done this time and time again, so they can kind of see whether those matches might be applicable and might be right for the prospective adopter.
What would you say, Gemma, to people who are watching this morning who are thinking, you know, this sort of appeals to me, I can sort of see the potential, but I'm not sure, because people may be frightened to contact First for Adoption, just to put that first call in, because they think, I'm committing myself to something here, rather than just making an inquiry or opening the door.
Well, we're an independent organisation, and we were actually set up for exactly that reason, to support those people with that first difficult phone call. When you ring our service or you look on the website, there is lots of information about not only the process, but stories from other adopters to encourage and show that actually it can be done. One thing we would say to people is that there are no silly questions at the beginning, because many people come from different areas. And it's just about encouraging people to come forward and to take the process in their own time and their own way, really. But adoption has been opened up to more people in society now, so that actually it reflects the population that we live in at the moment.
Well, let's hope, as always, at National Adoption Week, at least promote some interest so that people can make that first call and see if it's right for them. Gemma, thank you. It's worth pointing out, actually, if you are interested, first4adoption.org.uk, and that 4 is a number 4. And so, as Gemma says, just check it out and have a look. And if it's not for you, it's not for you, but it might be a path that you want to go down. Thank you.